अस्सलाम वालेकुम। मेरी आवाज़ आ रही है क्लियर? कैन एवरीवन hear me correctly? Okay, jazakallah. Here we will be in lecture number 7. Uh, we will be doing a new topic because we have done the if else and the switch and the statement and the conditional operator quite extensively in the last previous 6 recorded lectures. So I'm not going to discuss those any further, but we will be using those Boolean expressions in a new topic which we call iteration. So this iteration topic, iteration means if you want to repeat something. Iteration means something which repeats itself. So in C++, we call this iteration, we call these things as repetition or loops. So whenever you want to repeat some statement for many times, as long as some condition is true, you are going to use a loop or the iteration. There are about 3 kinds of loops in C++ or C language. There is a while loop, there is a do while loop, and there is a for loop. So in this lecture, we will be uh, doing the while loop, and in the next recorded lectures we will be doing the for and the do while. I mean, they all do exactly the same thing with different syntax, and their usage might vary slightly, but there are small subtle differences between these 3, but you can use any one of these to repeat certain statements many times. For example, let's go to a while loop. In this while loop, we have, the syntax of this while loop is you just write the word while, and in the round brackets, you write some kind of a Boolean expression, some condition, or which the answer for that condition should be 0 or 1 or false or true. And then you write a single statement, or if you want to write multiple statements, you can enclose those multiple statements in these curly brackets. So as long as this condition is true, these statements, whatever you have written here, are going to be running again and again for many times. Okay, so as long as this condition is true, only this single statement is going to run many times. So if you want to just repeat a single statement, you do not need to use the curly brackets. Or if you want to use the and if you want to repeat multiple statements, you can use curly brackets and enclose those multiple statements there, so that those multiple statements will repeat on themselves as long as this condition is true. So obviously, to enter the loop, we must have a valid condition. If the condition is valid, then the control of the program will enter the loop body, and it will just keep on running the statement as long as the condition is true. So, and to exit the loop, we have to make some with that condition false, so that the loop, the control exits the loop, and the control transfers to the next line outside the loop body. So the loop body runs from this point onwards to this point, and after that, the loop simply ends. So, or if you are just writing a single statement, the loop body ends at the first semicolon. So let's do a simple program. I've written the program beforehand. Just include IOString using this standard integer main void. So I've declared a variable integer I equals to 0. And I would suggest you do not ask the questions right now. If you want to ask questions, ask them after I have run the debugging program. So I'm going to explain this program twice. So we have declared a variable integer I equals to 0. Sorry, integer I equals to 10, and the value of I after running this statement would be 10. Now we are here at this statement, and it says that while I is greater than 0. So I'm going to say that in Urdu. इसका मतलब है कि लूप उस वक्त तक रन करो जब तक कि I की वैल्यू 0 से ज़्यादा है. I'm going to say that in English. Run this loop as long as the value of I is greater than 0. So we have declared the value of I equals to 10, and in this condition 10 is greater than 0, so that means we have a true condition here. So the control will enter the loop body, and we are just running, saying that some statement here, you can just write anything you want. I mean, just an example, I'm just saying some statement here would be printed, and after some space, just to figure out what the value of I is, I am just printing I. You can just do anything here as long if you want to do that thing repetitively or many times. So I just to explain it much more clearly, I am printing the value of I as well. And then in the next line, I am decrementing the value of I. So before entering the loop, the value of I was 10. So after entering the loop, 10 is greater than 0. This condition is true. So C out, this would run and it says some statement here, and after a few spaces it will say 10. And after running this line, the value of I would be 9. It will come back to this condition and it will check whether 9 is greater than 0, which it is greater than 0. So the condition is still true, and it's going to run this statement again. And after running this statement again, and it will say 9 here, and it will decrement the value of I to 8. 8 is greater than 0. So it will just keep on running 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. When after that, it will say C out some statement here, and the value of I would be 1. And then it would decrement the value of I, I minus minus, and the value of I would be 0. So it will check this condition. 0 is greater than 0. That is actually false. So the control of the program will transfer outside this loop and it will come to this line. So first run this code. I'm going to execute this code. I'm going to compile and run this code. So it will just say some statement here, and then it says 10, the value of I, which I am printing here. And it says again, it says some statement here, and the value of I is 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And after the value of I is decremented to 0, so it will check whether this condition is true or false. So this condition is false, so the loop exits, and after that no more statements are there except for this return 0. Just to explain it twice, what I'm going to do is I'm going to enable the debug mode. Debug mode is you should not run this mode unless you want to do some debugging. Debugging means, actually bug means some insect. I mean, traditionally, I'm just going to write debug mode here. So bug means if you know some insect. So in computers of like when the computers were first invented, they had some vacuum tubes and also such things like that. So at some point in time, those computers were not working. So it figured out there was some kind of a flea or some kind of a bug which was messing up with the electronic circuits. So to figure out some errors in the program, we call them bugs. To figure out, to remove those errors, we have to use something known as a debugging mode of the compiler. So what I'm going to do here, and you should not be running this debugging mode for your production programs, because your exe file would be quite large. But if you want to troubleshoot your program, or the program is behaving not in the way which you are expecting it to behave, then you should use a debug code to, but make sure, I mean, you should have a big space on your hard drive, because the size of the program would be considerably larger. The exe file would be quite large if you are running the debug compiler. So I'm just going to explain that. For production program, if you want to run your code as an application somewhere, use a normal compiler. If you want to debug or only for your software engineering, you can use a debug compiler. So I'm going to go into tools, and I'm going to click the compiler options, and it says that I'm using the GCC compiler, which is a release version. So if I go to this drop down list, I have a 64-bit compiler as well as 32-bit compiler. So I'm going to use 64-bit compiler, but instead of this release version, I'm going to use the debug version here. So I'm going to press OK, and I'm going to compile and run the code, and it will run just fine as we have done before. And it says 10, I mean, this statement ran 10 times because the statement was, the condition here given was true for 10 times. So I'm now going to go to project manager. So the project manager would be here, or if I can just close it, and it will just somehow latch it here. And then I'm going to view the report window. Report window is here. So next thing I need to do is I need to go to this debug tab in this report window. So first let me see this. I mean, this is the main program, so that's what we want to see. So we are going to see the debug over here, and then what I need to do is I need to click, I need to add a breakpoint somewhere in the program. That is important. So I need to, if I just click here, you can see a small red dot with a tick mark here. Or what I've done here, you can also do the execute, and you can just say, I mean, press F4 or toggle breakpoint somewhere in the program. So breakpoints adding is important to run the debug code. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to add watch. I mean, I'm going to watch for the value of I. So So I'm going to see, I mean, what I'm going to watch is I press the add watch button and I press I over here. So at that it says that I is, I mean, simply not found. It's going to find I wherever the program here is, and it says execute to evaluate. Then I'm going to press a debug button, and it says, and let me get the window output window here at the same time. So or let me, okay. So it says that integer I equals to, here it says 0. I mean, it should be printing some garbage value because I is just declared but not the value assigned. But after running this line, the value of I would be having the value of 10. So I'm going to press the button next line, and watch out, it says a value of I is 10. I hope everybody can read that. um, Okay, so everybody can read that. Sorry for small font size, but it says value of I is equal to 10 because we have run this line. Now it's going to check whether I or 10 is greater than 0. So this condition is true. And here is the output. We are going to see this window here. We are going to see this line, and we are going to see the output here. So it's running the code line by line, and it's printing the output as it happens, because before the whole output was output to the window at once after running the whole program, but we are running now this code line by line by using the debug compiler. So I'm going to press, I mean, it's going to check whether 10 I, the value of I is 10, 10 is greater than 0, and that condition is true. So that means it is going to enter this line, or going to enter the body of the loop, which goes from this curly bracket to this curly bracket. So I'm going to press the next line, and it says see out some statement here, and now it has not run the line yet. It's going to run this line, and after running this line, it says some statement here, the value of I was 10, and that I was printed here. Now it's going to it's going to execute this line. It hasn't done yet. It's going to and it says the value of I is 10 if I just hover my mouse over here. So when I press next line, we are going to watch what the value of I would be. After running this line, the value of I is 9. So now it's going to check whether the 9 is greater than 0. This condition is still true. So we are just going to run, I mean, condition is true. So it will rerun this code body here, and it's going to press, I'm going to press next line. And this statement, some statement here, is going to be printed, and watch out the output at the right side of the screen, and it says some statement here, and it's going to print 9 here. And then the value of I is still 9, and after running this line, the value of I would be 8. And after that, it is again going to check whether this condition is still true. So yes, value of I is 8, and it says that 8 is greater than 0. I mean, if you hover the mouse here, it says I equals to 8 right now, and it's actually greater than 0. So this condition is still true. It's going to run this code, and the value of I is decremented, and it's going to see out that statement, whatever that is, and some statement here 8, and I minus minus would be 7. So I'm going to do it quickly. 7 is greater than 0. That is true. Enter the code body of the loop here again, and the value of I is now 6. So it just keeps on repeating. That's the form here. This keeps on repeating this loop code, whatever is written inside the loop, and checking the condition again and again. And as long as, let's see, the value of I is now 2. So it's going to run this value sum statement here 2 at the right side of the screen. Value of I is now 1. 1 is greater than 0. So it's going to run this code as well. So now it checks whether, I mean, it's going to run some statement here, and value of I after running this code, watch out carefully. The value of I after running this line would be 0. So it's going to check whether value of I is 0 is greater than 0. Now it's false. So important. So before this line, the condition was still true, but now this is false because the value of I after running this line is now 0. 0 greater than 0 is false. So it's going to exit the loop, and it will come to the last statement, or whatever statement is written outside this loop. So that's how if we want to run some statement multiple times, you can use the loop. So the while loop says that run this code as long as this condition is true again and again. So let's going back to compiler options, and debug code is only for debugging or removing errors, or if the code is performing weirdly, you can use a debug code, but keep in mind that's going to make a very big executable file if you have a large program. So I'm going to going back to the release version. I'm going to say okay, and I'm going to execute compile and run, and it says whatever we the result we which we got before. Now if I remove this, if I some error, can wait, okay. What was the question? Let me for loop, Mudassir Memo says for loop, while loop, and do while, which are the same or different? They are all loops. They are different ways to write if you want to repeat the same statement. Quickly, can anyone tell whether they can actually? There was some error in my computer. Can everybody see the dev C++ screen here? Can everybody see that? Okay, Jazakallah. Okay, so because there was some, actually two monitors are running side by side, so that's a problem here. Um, okay, so coming back to let's make another program. Let's have a program which makes a table of two. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to close the screen and this one as well. And let's see what happens here. So I have declared the value of integer I equals to 1. And this thing is just not important. Okay, so I'm going to generate a make table of two. So I'm going to say while I is less than equal to 12. So the value of I is 1. So the value of I is 1. So 1 is less than, sorry, I think I need to remove this. Wait a minute. Okay, that monitor was causing problem. So coming back here, I'm going to ask again. Sorry about it. Function तो सेम होता है ना, बस स्टेटमेंट लिखने की वजह से डिफरेंट हो जाता है. Kind of, yes. They are absolutely right. Okay, I'm going to ask again. Can everybody see my screen right now? This Chrome screen and this dev C++ screen. Okay, so there's just one screen hopefully. Okay, so coming back to here, so I'm going to generate a table of two. So what here is happening, the value of I is 1. So I'm going to say run this code, whatever is written over here. Oh, sorry, one more thing. Coming back to this code, what would happen if I remove this line? So if I remove this line, I just deleted that line. So it says while is I greater than 0, the value of I is 10. So if I run this line, execute, and I'm going to press compile and run. Sorry, it just keeps on running this code for infinite amounts of time. So that is a never-ending loop. To close this application, you have to press Control C. Because that loop became infinite, because this condition was infinitely true for all times. Because the value of I is 10, 10 is greater than 0, it says some statement here, the value of I is 10, and it just keeps on printing because the value of I is always true, because we are not decrementing or changing the value of I. I have deleted the line I minus minus. So it is important to have an entry condition for the loop. So the loop, you have to, if you want to enter the loop, the condition has to be true, and there also has to be there an exit condition. So you have to keep in mind that there has to be some kind of an exit condition or some kind of a breakout or condition of the loop, so that the loop doesn't run for infinite time. So that I have ran this statement I minus minus, so that after each running or after each iteration of the loop, the value of I is decremented, and after running 10 times, the value of I was 0, so that I could have an exit condition. So it's important that you have to have some kind of an entry condition, as well as you must have some kind of an exit condition, so that the loop doesn't run for infinite times. So coming back to this program, which says that I'm just going to generate a table of two here, and it says while I is equals to 1, while I is less than equals to 12, and I'm going to see out some statement here, 2 into something, this is just a string. The value of I here is 1, and equals to 2 into 1, that is equals to 2. So and then I'm going to increment the value of I to 2. So it will just check whether 2 is still less than equal to 12. So it will just multiply with 2, and it will put out the answer 4 here, and then it will put out the answer 6, and all the way to the value of I would go from 1 to 12. And after running the last time of this code, the value of I would be 13, and this condition would no longer be true, and the loop would exit. So let's run this code, and then I'm going to see I'm going to see the, sorry, this thing is keep on running. So wait a minute. Wait a one. Sorry, let me explain that. Sorry. यार ये कुछ मसला हो गया आज कंप्यूटर में. um, some problem. Let me explain that again. That if I run this code, if I let's run this code here again, and say the value of I is 0 here, because we have just declared the variable. I mean, it should be outputting some garbage value here. And they say, I mean, after running this line, the value of I would be initialized to 1. So the value of I is 1, and it's going to check whether I is less than equal to 12. So this thing is true. So it's going to run this line, 2 into I, which is 1, equals to 2 into 1 equals to 2. So it's going to run this line. Let me that line actually ran here. After running, I'm going to the next line. It says I plus plus value of I is going to be 2. 2 is less than equal to 12. This condition is true. So 2 into 2 equals to 4. So it's going to run this line. I mean, going to run this line. It's going to increment the value of I to 3. And it's again going to check this condition, and it keeps on running as long as this condition is true. So after, I mean, that is actually repetition going on behind the scenes, which we can see in this debug mode. So after running this, after 11th time, watch out carefully, the value of I is 12. So 12 less than equal to 12 is still true, because we are saying 12 less than or equal to 12, which is still true. So the value of I mean, this condition is true. So it's going to print, enter this loop, and it says 2 into 12 equals to 24. And I plus plus, watch out carefully, that value of I after running this line is going to be 13. So 13 less than equals to 12. This condition is now false, because 13 is not less than 12. 13 is not equal to or not less than 12, or nor is it equal to 12. So this condition is false. So after, I mean, this condition false. So this will not enter this loop body again, and the control will transfer. The control will transfer to the line here. So I'm going to press next line. The control is transferred to this line, and it says return 0. And after that, the program just executes and the program just runs. So this is a way to understand that if you want to run so if you want to run some code again and again, you have to use the loops or the iteration statements, which are while, do while, and the for loop. They are very simple. If we are going to discuss these loops in quite a detail in the recorded lectures, but I mean, the difference between while and do while is, in here, the do while loop, it's not going to check the condition before entering the loop. I mean, it's going to run this loop at least once, and after running the loop, it's going to check the condition. So it's kind of, do something first and ask later kind of a thing. In the while loop, it was first checking the condition and entering the loop if the condition was true. And here, it's not going to check the condition before entering the loop. Therefore, it just enters the loop and runs whatever there it is. And after running the loop body, it's going to check the loop. So if you want to run at least the loop body at least once, even if the condition is false, you can use a do while loop. I'm going to discuss that in the recorded lectures quite extensively. The for loop is very similar to while loop. Here, this statement runs only once. This condition is similar to what we have written in the while loop, and this statement runs after the loop body has run once. So I'm going to explain that in detail, but you can use either for loop or while loop. It's totally up to you. Some people like this thing, some people like while loop. It's kind of a personal preference. So as a last program, let's say I have first run this program, execute or remove watch. Okay. And what are the numbers? I limit counter. Okay, so I'm going to add watch I, and another one limit, and another one as counter. I mean, I have declared 3 variables. It's just a way of saying I'm going to execute, compile and run. And here it says enter an integer. Let's say I'm just picking up 5, and it says enter the limit of the table. I say this generate the limit to 7. So it's going to generate the table of 5 up to 7. So it's going to take the input from the user for the number and the limit. So I mean, it's going to run. I mean, the multiplication is happening again and again. That's why I have included this statement in the loop body. So here, let's go through this code. And I'm going to run this code. I'm going to add some kind of a breakpoint just by clicking here, and it says debug. I'm going to say debug, and it says enter next line, and it says it says enter an integer generated stable. It says cn equals to I. Here we have declared the value of, we have initialized the variable I, and limit and counter, whatever those are. And I mean, look, the value of I is now just garbage value of 88. So if I press the value of I to, let's say, 5, here, and it says whatever the big number 555 has been entered, and it says enter the limit of the table. If I and it says C out and it says CN. If I just press this thing, it says, for example, let's say 4, and it goes to next line. Not picking up the right numbers. So okay, 5, and I just press enter. So watch out. The value of I is 555. The limit is 5. So obviously I want the table to be generated to 5. So I want to generate the table of 555 to 555 into 1 into 2 into 3 into 4 into 5. So and the counter value is 1. And it says counter 1 less than the limit is 5. So 1 less than 5, that is okay. It's going to check next line, and I into whatever here. So 555 into 1 is 555, and it's going to increment the counter to is now it's 1. After running this thing, counter value is now 2. 2 is less than the limit, so that is okay. So counter value is 2, the limit value is 5. So if you just hover the mouse pointer here, it says 2 is less than 5, which is true. So it's going to run this line, and the counter value is now 3. Watch out here, 3 is less than 5. 3 is less than 5, that is true. Again, run this line, and now here the counter value after running this line would be 4. 4 is less than 5, equal to 5, that is okay. So it's going to run this line again, and it says the value of counter would be now 5. So this value is updated to 5. 5 is less than equal to 5, so that is also okay. And after running this line, the value of counter is now 6. 6 less than equal to 6 less than equal to 5 is now false. So the control of the program is now transferred to the line outside this loop body. So this yes, I will, inshallah. First take me the attendance, and then I'm going to answer the questions whatever you have written in the chat window. So don't go anywhere. Let me take the attendance. Okay, attendance has been taken. So anybody wants to leave the meeting, he or she can. First, going back to the chat window, let's go through your statements. Order नहीं आ रही, sorry यार, audit की वजह से. I'm a backlog student. हमारी मिड्स की डेट बता दें, क्योंकि फर्स्ट वीक ऑफ अगस्त में रेगुलर क्लासेस के मिड्स हैं, तो क्लैश हो रहा है. That will be answered to you by your LMS coordinator and your class advisor. LMS coordinator of first year is Sir Iqbal Azim, and your class advisor is who is your class advisor? Miss Binesh Sultana. Okay, sir, if else, Mudassir Mahmood says if else which loops के topics mid में तो नहीं आएंगे. देखें नहीं, the course for the midterm is only your 15 recorded lectures and first 5 live lectures. Okay, first 15 recorded lectures and first 5 live lectures. Actually, I've discussed a new topic, even though I should be discussing the lectures 21, 22, 20, sorry, 89, sorry, 19, 20, 21 in this, but actually we are due to some scheduling or the schedule provided by the university, I think we have like 39 or maybe 42 classes. So to cover that, I'm going to discuss new topic, even though if else is a very simple topic, so no need to discuss any further. Then it says upload today, like yes, I will be uploading. Sir, कितने lectures आएंगे मिनट में, अभी तो बताया है. और उसके बाद से फिर उसके अलावा anybody else wants to ask any question, he or she can write in the. Baji Hassan says no assignment, no assignment or quizzes, but after mid you will be having one quiz every week. So midterm is in the week of 3rd August to 5th August. I think the first midterm is computers and programming. You will be provided a link along with the instructions, and there you have to take an online test. And you might be asked to write a few things on the paper as well and send the snapshots of that paper and upload it to Google Drive. The instructions are there in your mid paper. Mid paper would be available in whatever time the university has announced on your website www.nedut.edu.pk. Sir, why is there a need for different while loop, even though we can complete Do yes, Ahmed Asif. Yeah, पहले एक मिनट ठहरो. Waji Hassan says no assignment or quizzes. Hi, quizzes would be, there will be 5 quizzes, one per week after midterm. Okay, and there will be one assignment of 5 questions. They are big problems, and that assignment needed to be submitted by the end of the 14th week. So क्या लिखा है जिब्रान इकबाल ने? सर बहुत ज्यादा हो जाएगा सर. नहीं भाई, 5 असाइनमेंट्स, सॉरी 5 क्विजेस हैं. 5 क्विजेस आर रियली सिंपल, एंड फॉर दैट they will be covering 1 or 2 week lecture each quiz. So if you are not, because the university requirement is you have to attend 5 quizzes, and the 3 best scores are going to count. So if you, even if you like do not perform that well on 1 or 2 quizzes, that is not a big concern. The quizzes are really simple. To practice those quizzes, I would suggest you go to the end of the chapter exercises of detail in detail. So they are really simple, and the quizzes would be pretty much the variation of those questions. Why there's a different for a different loop? Do while, the difference between do while and a simple while loop is that if there are some scenarios in programming where you want to run some code at least once, even if the condition is false, so you will use the do while loop. It might be possible the condition is true depending on the user input. So if you want to run the code at least once, even if the condition is false, you will use the do while loop. And if you want to use the code, if you want to run the code again and again, as long as the condition is true, but you first want to check whether the condition is true or not, you will use the while loop. So it depends on whatever your requirement is. There's no hard and fast rule of which loop to use. Actually, whenever you are doing something repeatedly, just as in this example, we are multiplying numbers again and again. So instead of writing the cout statement again and again, I'm just going to write the single cout statement and enclose that in the loop body, so that this statement is going to run again and again as long as the condition is true. नबील मजीद से मिट्स किस टाइप का होगा? यार मैं बता चुका हूँ, मिट्स में शॉर्ट क्वेश्चन आंसर्स होंगे, ट्रू फॉल्स होंगे, एमसीक्यूज होंगे, और सॉरी उर्दू में बोल रहा हूँ, एमसीक्यूज वुड बी देयर, शॉर्ट क्वेश्चंस आंसर्स, सिंपल, जस्ट explain something. You will be asked to write a code. एक और चीज, everyone's paper might be a little bit different. Okay, so we have lots of questions, but the question difficulty level is pretty much the same. So everyone's paper would be different. ठीक है. अच्छा, MCQ is something else. There could be MCQs, true, false, or short question answers, as well as you would be asked to write a simple program, and you could also be asked to predict the output of the program given some code, as well as you might be asked to detect the error of the program. That what is the error? If some semicolon or some bracket is missing, or some closing bracket is missing, or something like that. Abdul Mubin sir, I've emailed you. Please have a look. भाई मुझे अभी तक कोई email नहीं मिली है. So if I just receive the email, I will just check it out. Okay, now everyone just sign out. I will see you inshallah next week. Allah Hafiz.